Welcome to this lesson. This is Agriculture Form 2. We're going to discuss a number of topics, and one of the topics which we're going to discuss is on soil. If you can remember, in Form 1, the first topic which we covered was natural resources, and we mentioned soil as one of the important natural resources in agriculture. So we're going to look onto details on this topic, which is soil. So under this topic, we're going to discuss two main items. That's soil composition as well as soil profile. On soil composition, we're just going to discuss on what soil is made up of. Apart from that, the soil can form some layers, so we're also going to explain more on soil profile. So, on soil composition, the soil itself, it is made up of 5 main components, and these components are inorganic constituents. Sometimes we call it mineral matter. Apart from that, it is also made up of organic matter, also soil water, as well as soil air, not forgetting living organisms. So we are going to discuss into details under each component of soil. And some of the experiments will be, we're going to do some of the experiments just to prove that the soil is made up of each component we have just mentioned. Yeah, so one of the most important soil composition is what we call inorganic constituents. These are also called mineral matter. So these inorganic compounds will arise from disintegration of rocks through weathering process. In agriculture, most of the times we say that soil comes from rocks. So those rocks they will start to disintegrate through that process which we call weathering, then finally forming the soil. So in short, we can say that these mineral matter will form the solid part of the soil. Apart from that, they'll also form the skeleton or framework of the soil. They will form the skeleton or framework of the soil. What do we mean if we say they'll form a skeleton or framework of the soil? Amongst those 5 soil composition, inorganic constituent is the one which will carry all those 4, the other 4 soil composition. In short, without inorganic constituents, these other 4 soil composition might not be available. They might not be available. In fact, out of these 5 soil composition, mineral matter is the one which will have about 45%. It will have about 45%, meaning that only 55% will go to these other 4 soil composition, but the whole 45% is for mineral matter. So we're talking of these mineral matters which will consist of sand, silt, as well as clay. And these sand, silt, and clay they are referred to as fractions. So most of the times these fractions they'll vary in size. they would differ in size, of course, depending on the type of rock forming the soil and how long that soil has undergone weathering process. There are different types of rocks. Some of the rocks are hard, some of the rocks are soft. So most of the times, hard rocks, they will resist weathering process. So it will take time in order for the soil to be formed from these hard rocks, therefore forming large soil particles. But some of the rocks, as I've already said, as they are soft, so they can easily undergo that process of weathering. They can easily form the soil, and most of the times the soils are, from soft rocks. They are a little bit tiny. Because of this, this will determine the soil texture. This will determine the soil texture. Here we have the example, as well said, that these mineral matter, they will vary in terms of size. So there were some experiments which were conducted by soil scientists using the three methods, that's filling, sieving, as well as the sedimentation process. Of course, these three methods, we're going to discuss them into details in Form 3. But through these three methods is when those soil scientists came up with the different classes of the soil, of which those classes uh, were determined depending on the size of the soil particles. For example, we have clay as a class of the soil. This clay, in terms of size of a single grain of clay, it is below 0.002 millimeters, below 0.002 millimeters in terms of diameter of a single grain of clay. Another class is what we call silt, and a silt in terms of size in diameter is between 0.002 millimeters to 0.02 millimeters. Then we have another class which is fine sand. So fine sand in terms of size in diameter should be between 0.02 to 0.2 millimeters. Then we have coarse sand. This in terms of diameter should be 0.2 to 2 millimeters. Then we can also have another class which is called the fine gravel. This can be 2 millimeters to 20 millimeters. Then gravel itself, in terms of size and diameter, a single gravel, the size can be 20 to 200 millimeters. And lastly, we can have this class of stone. So this should be above 200 millimeters in terms of size in diameter. So we're saying that we have different sizes of mineral matters, and those different sizes, we've classified them as we have already stipulated here. So these mineral matter, since we're saying that they will form a skeleton of the soil, they are very, very important. And one of the importance of mineral matter or inorganic constituents, they will anchor the plants. You remember when we were covering natural resources under soil, we mentioned this importance of anchoring the plants as the importance of soil. So the composition of the soil which will anchor the plant should be the inorganic matter. Apart from that, they also provide minerals necessary for proper growth of the plants. So the minerals which are used in plant growth, they are also found in this component so-called mineral matter. Another soil composition is what we call organic matter. Organic matter is made up of decayed plant and animal matter. So organic matter should be also an important constituent of the soil. The main reason why we're saying that it is a very important constituent of the soil is that it will act as a cementing agent. In short, it helps to bind the soil particles, thus improving the soil structure. Apart from that, another importance of organic matter as a component of the soil is that it loosens up the soil, creating spaces in the soil which can be occupied by water and air. And also, these organic matter, they will also undergo decomposition. And through decomposition process, the organic matter will form humus, and also through the same decomposition process, some nutrients may be released from this organic matter, which will also be used by the plants. These humus which are formed after organic matter has gone decomposition process is dark in color. So the color itself, we're saying it is dark, it will help to raise soil temperature. Here we're applying physics here that dark objects, or if the color is dark, it will absorb a lot of heat. So we're saying that since the humus is dark in color, it will help to raise the soil temperature, which is very, very useful in agriculture. How can we know that the soil we have some organic matter? So we can conduct an investigation, or we can do an experiment to find out if really soil contains organic matter. So in order for us to carry out an experiment, we need some materials. So some of the materials which are required can be soil sample. This soil should be air dried. Apart from that, evaporating dish. Apart from that, we can also have a tripod stand. We also need the source of heat, any source of heat. If we have basin burner, the better. Apart from that, weighing scale, the weighing scale or triple beam balance. We'll also need matches and also a stirring rod. Here's the procedure which we can follow in order for us to find out if really in the soil there's some organic matter. So you weigh the soil sample. Let the soil sample be 25 grams. Then you place that weighed soil sample in the evaporating dish. Definitely this evaporating dish should be put on the source of any source of heat. So you heat the soil gently, let's say at 105 degrees Celsius. So you heat gently, then you weigh the soil up until the weight becomes constant. In that case, it means the soil has now fully dried. There is no water in that soil. What will remain in that soil now will be the inorganic matter, as well as organic matter, inorganic minerals or inorganic matter as well as organic matter. So let this dry soil be Y. Let the dry soil be Y. Then the next procedure, you heat the soil strongly until it is red hot. You heat the soil strongly until it is red hot. Then you let it cool. After that, you weigh the soil and record the weight. Let the bent soil or the mass of the bent soil be 19 grams. From that, we can easily calculate the mass and organic matter percentage, the mass of the organic matter as well as the percentage. So, remember on the procedure, we let the mass of the dry soil be Y. For example, we said 20 grams. Then the bent soil Z, which was 19 grams. Therefore, the mass of organic matter will be Y minus Z, or 20, since Y is 20 and Z is 19. Therefore, the mass of the soil, the mass of the organic matter will be 20 minus 19, which is 1 gram. So to find the percentage of organic matter, it will be Y minus Z, that is in brackets, divided by Y, of which Y should be the mass of dry soil, as already stipulated, times 100. So in our case, Y is 20, then minus 19, Z, which is 19, divided by Y, which is 20, times 100. In short, 20 minus 19 is 1, therefore it's 1 divided by 20 times 100. So this is giving us 5%, just because 20 into 100 should be 5. So it means the percentage of organic matter in this case is 5%. So to conclude, we can just conclude that organic matter is really a constituent of the soil. In the procedure, we are mentioning of gentle heating the soil. Why were we gentle heating the soil? Gentle heating the soil was meant to remove the remaining soil moisture, so that at least we should have the soil sample which has no water and no moisture at all. We should just remain with soil as well as organic matter. Apart from that, in the procedure, we've also mentioned of strongly heating or heating the soil to red hot. The main reason was to burn the organic matter, so that we should find the difference between the burnt soil and that of the gentle heating soil. So the difference should be the mass of organic matter. So that's how we can find the percentage of organic matter or mass of organic matter. If there is no difference, it means that will prove that there is no organic matter in the soil. But in our case, we have found the difference between the gentle heating soil and the burnt soil. It means there is organic matter in the soil. Apart from organic matter, another constituent of the soil is soil water. Soil water is a very important constituent of the soil, just because it will act as a major component of the cell protoplasm. Most of the time, the soil water is mostly used by plants, and if you can check the plants, they are most of the time they are just filled with fluids, and we're talking of water. So we're saying that water acts as a major component of cell protoplasm. Apart from that, water will also dissolve plant nutrients for easy absorption of plants. These plants, of course, they will need nutrients in order for them to grow. But if the nutrients are in solid form, it will be difficult for plant roots to absorb the nutrients. But rather, the nutrients should be in a liquid form. So it is water which will help to dissolve the plant nutrients so that plant roots can easily absorb. Apart from that, the same soil water, once it is absorbed by the roots, it will move to the leaves, whereby in that case the water can be used as the raw material for photosynthesis process. And this water can also or it has a cooling effect on plants through transpiration. As the plants will transpire, at least they will have that cooling effect on plants, which is also essential in plant production. Apart from that, soil water is also necessary for microbial activities in the soil. If you are still remembering, we've mentioned of decomposition process. That decomposition process is facilitated by some microorganisms. So those microorganisms, in order for them to be active, they'll need some soil water. So I'm saying that soil water is also necessary for microbial activities in the soil. And also, soil water creates a suitable condition for seed germination. In order for seeds to germinate, they'll need three important things, and one of it is water. Apart from that, air as well as warmth. So we're saying that soil water will help in seed germination. Before we go to the experiment, in order for us to find out if really in the soil we can have water, we should know that this water can be available in the soil in three forms. And these are capillary water, superfluous water, as well as hygroscopic water. Most of the times, the soil water will appear in the pore spaces, in the soil pore spaces. And these pores can be small as well as large pore spaces. So, the soil water which occupies the micropores or small pores is what we call capillary water. And this water most of the times is readily available and very beneficial to plants, just because the small pores are supposed to be filled with water. So they are the ones which are used by plants, absorbed by plants. But sometimes, depending on the type of the soil, you find out that some of the water may also appear in the macropores, large 4 spaces, large pores. These large pores are meant to be filled with air, but once these spaces are saturated, is when we see that the soil becomes waterlogged. The soils become waterlogged. As I've already said, the small pores are meant to be filled with water, but the large pores are meant to be filled with air. But sometimes, depending on the type of the soil, we find out that we may also find some water in the large pores. So those water, if they are found in the large pores, we call them superfluous water. So superfluous water is one of the form of the water, and this form of the water or the soil water are found in the large pores in the soil. And we have another form of water which is extraordinary. This one is what we call hygroscopic water. Earlier on, I said that most of the times the water is found between or in the pores, between the soil spaces, in the soil spaces. But this water now, this form of water, so-called hygroscopic water, is found on the soil particles. They are found in form of a thin layer in this surface of the soil particles, and they are held together by strong forces. And most of the times, this form of water is not available for plant use. It is not available for plant use. So we have now an idea on the forms of water, and in conclusion, we're saying that the capillary water, or the water which is found in the micropores or small pores, is the one which is readily available and beneficial to plants. Let's now do the experiment to determine the soil water. So we'll still need materials. We'll still need materials. And some of the materials which will be required here are weighing balance, a sample of fresh garden soil or wet soil, tripod stand, as well as a source of heat, for example, basin burner. Yeah, so on the diagram, it is showing the evaporating dish where we're going to place the soil sample. Apart from that, we also have the styling rod to make sure that at least so that we style the soil for easy evaporation of water. Apart from that, we also have this the tripod stand where we're going to place the evaporating dish. Then we also have the basin burner, or any source of heat can also be used. In terms of procedure number 1, you weigh the soil sample. Here, the soil sample, you make sure that at least you get the fresh garden soil or just wet soil. Let the weight be 50 grams of the soil sample. Then you put your 50 grams of soil sample on the evaporating dish. Then you expose the soil to heat, for example, at 105 degrees Celsius over a basin burner. So you stir the soil. As you heat the soil, ensure that all the water has evaporated. Then you let the soil cool and reweigh the heated, cooled soil and record the mass. Let the heated soil must be 40 grams. In this case, we can easily calculate the mass as well as percentage of water in the soil. For example, we said the mass of fresh garden soil was 50 grams. Let it be X, and also the mass of dry soil will measure of 40 grams. So let the mass of dry soil be Y. In this case, the mass of water therefore will be X minus Y, where our X is 50, then our Y is 40. So in short, it's 50 minus 40, giving us 10 grams. So that's the mass of water. From that, we can also calculate the percentage of water in the soil, which can be X minus Y divided by the fresh garden soil, which was 50 times 100. So it will be 50 minus 40 divided by 50 times 100. So 50 minus 40, this is 10, divided by 50 times 100. If we can cancel 50, we get 1, into 100 we get 2. So 2 times 10 here, we're getting 20%. So it means in our case the percentage of water in the soil is 20%. So we can happily conclude that water should be one of the constituent or composition of the soil. Of course, the amount of soil water or the percentage of soil water will depend on the type of soil. For example, clay soil will hold more water. Therefore, we can have a high percentage of water in clay than loam as well as even sand.
Simutaya nthawi yanu kufunafuna maphunziro muzakhala wotumidwa moyo wanu wonse. Ngati simuphunzira anthu azingokutumani ajala kalime ajala kuchwe manyazi ajala katende yanti ndipo anthu ophunzira wandi wotumanso kwambiri. Ndiye ngati simuphunzira skulu akuyikirani apa mukhala otumidwa.